you to listen afterwards or those who are not here. So welcome. My name is Aurelia Monene. I'm the founder of Ada Africa, but I'm also a researcher. I'm also in the space of gender equality and social inclusion. I work as a consultant. And the other thing is that I enjoy research mentorship. And I'm also a master's student. I'm doing my second master's. I'm now writing my concept note. So this topic is also relevant for me. What I noticed, even if you've already done a master's, even if you've already done another master's, every research project is unique. So even for me, I'm now orienting myself again. So welcome to today's session. It is one of the webinars that we do at AIDA Africa. We have different activities to support research mentorship for upcoming researchers or emerging scholars. And webinars is one way we do that. We have other activities like every second and third Saturday of the month, we allocate 30 minutes for 4 people to see a mentor online. And you can talk to someone about your research project, and many people have really benefited from that. We also hold mock defense. If maybe you're going to defend your thesis or your dissertation, you can ask me through me. Tell me I'm going to defend, and we will organize a few people to listen to you, and they give you feedback, and many people have said it has helped them in their actual defense. The other activities we have is critical review of scholarly texts, although that one many people don't participate, but it's an important activity. We also share resources and so many other things in our club. So today, I think I had said we'll start at 6:03, and now it's 6:03, so we have good quorum, and so we are going to start. And please introduce yourself on chat. I will not read out your names for data privacy purposes. Just introduce yourself, what you're working on. It will be nice to know which part of your research are you at. Are you at the concept? Are you at the proposal? Are you also at data collection and all that? So we're honored to have Dr. Fozia. She's a mentor and a lecturer, and will tell us a lot about herself. She's an enthusiast of learning and supporting upcoming researchers. And today she's going to take us through how do you conceptualize your research topic, and also speak about the conceptual framework. So that's our topic today. Please prepare your questions. As we always say, the best way to learn, even through webinars, is always have a question, have a paper and pen, and also after the session, immediately apply the learning. If you are struggling in a particular area, apply it immediately. Don't just keep it and then you'll forget. So just immediately afterwards, go and look, where can the knowledge I have learned today be applied immediately in the work I'm working on. So let me not take more time. Let me invite now Dr. Please come on board, introduce yourself, and take us through what you have for us today.
Good evening, members. My name is Dr. Fozia Nurwin. And before I take you through what we are supposed to take, I would just like to have everybody introduce themselves so that we can know who you are. We are very few. We are just about 15. So we could start and just quickly what it is that you expect to get from here, so that if we have not captured, we'll be able to capture in the Q&A session. Thank you. I will switch off my video me to share, but I was hoping you would share so that if we have interruptions, we don't interrupt the presentation.
I'll share.
You can see we also have 2 students, Naimeka from Nigeria and also Hassan from Nigeria. Welcome on board.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Nice to be here. Good evening. Thank you. Nice to be here.
You're welcome.
Just 1 minute.
I'm not a student, but I'm glad to be here this evening.
Welcome, Liz.
You can see the screen?
Yes, we can. So good evening, members. Welcome on board this MV research topic, conceptualization. I'm honored to be taking you through this topic. And I have taken through several other topics as a mentor for IDA Africa, where I have been honored to also mentor a number of master's and PhD students, and also sat in some of their panels. So for the students who are going through the research process, this becomes a very nice platform for you to network, ask questions, and be mentored. Those are my specializations. I'm a management scientist specialist with a PhD in management sciences, a member of the Kenya Institute of Supply Chain Management, and also a member of the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply from the UK completely. So Aurelia, we go to the next slide.
Yes, there's some noise. Please, I would ask we all mute ourselves so that we can hear without interruption. Thank you.
So research in organizations or research in academic is there, whether you are doing a diploma, whether you're doing an undergraduate, or whether you're doing a PhD, master's, postgraduate. Some disciplines may not have research in undergraduate so much, but immediately you leave the academic world and you go into the workspace, you find that research is there. You've heard Aurelia saying that she's doing gender studies. Sometimes you'll find that the people who are doing social work may not be able to have a project in social work. But then you live there and then you go into the workspace and you have to do research on social work, among other things. So the concept of research becomes very important as part and parcel of academia. And the intensity of the output of research also grows. A diploma student's research output cannot be compared with a master's research output, which can also not be compared with a PhD research output, because the intensity, the variables, the data collection, all those analytics become different. Whereas on the other side, you're doing basic. On this other side, in PhD, we are going to ask you a very simple question. What knowledge are you adding with your research? So it becomes very unique on each other. Now, in Kenya, as across the world, research is governed by many bodies. We have first the academic institutions, which have set guidelines on how this research will be done, in terms of maybe the research topics, in terms of the timelines, in terms of that. But I'm going to speak on the Kenyan context alone for the time being. We are having other bodies that are coming in. The Commission for University Education has set up research standards for postgraduates and undergraduate students. The National Council of Science, Technology and Innovation, also called NACOSTI, you need to get your research permit before you can do your research. Anyone who intends to do any research, especially postgraduate research, that needs to be published, then needs an NACOSTI license. Anyone who wants to do research outside there that is going to have some impact, you need an ethics certificate, among others. There's also the National Research Fund, or the NRF, which is funding research, which is depending on your area of specialization and the calls that they put up every year. Then we have the Kenya Institute of Research Development, KIRDI, and you also have KEMRI, you have Kipri, among others. All these areas are telling you that research is important, and most of the research we will do will touch one or the other, or you need a permit, or you need support from one of these institutions. So as you are doing your research or you're conceptualizing, then you need to understand what are the areas that you can, which organizations affect your research, because you can't just do it blindly. And you cannot, for example, do your master's or PhD research without an acoustic permit. So you need to understand, what does it take for me to get this permit? How much is the permit? How long does it last? When do I renew it? Even if you are a student from another country coming to do research in Kenya, you need that information. So research has many facets, but the common goals are just basically you're solving a problem, you're finding new ways of doing things. You can be re-engineering, or you're discovering new knowledge, or you're basically challenging the old knowledge. That is how theories are developed. You are challenging the old theory, you come up with a new theory, you come up with a new model, you come up with a new relationship, you come up with a new drug. Okay, you find new ways of doing things, you check it is the same thing, but can we do it faster? What do we eliminate in the system? So basically, you just want to solve problems here and there. Next.
Daktari, we can hear a banging noise. I'm not sure if it's from your end, but if it's someone here, please stay muted. The banging noise is interrupting. I don't know who it is, but please go ahead.
Has it reduced?
A little bit now.
Okay, fine. So what is the concept of research? Research basically,
Hello, I think it's coming from someone called Abdul Kar something.
Yeah, it's still there, Daktari, the noise.
Are you able to mute all of us, Aurelia?
Not everyone. Let me just see.
I think I'm muted.
Mute. Okay. We can still hear the noise. It's like someone is banging something.
can you hear it now?
No. Okay, just
Okay.
fine. Okay, continue.
Okay, I have moved some positions. So the concept of research. So research is basically made of two words, re and search. So you are either searching, you are searching again, which is researching, you are examining, you are re-examining, you are investigating, you are inquiring, or you are testing. So it's all about just doing something, doing it again from a different angle, examining something, checking it again, investigating what it is that is making that thing happen, testing why this water is tasting bitter, or just inquiring why does Aurelia want to have 2 masters instead of registering for a PhD. So it's just about the questions or whatever you want to do, and it's more about doing it again and again. So research did not start here. In the Bible, we have those quotes which are asking, we're talking about research for the Christians. Inquire, search, ask diligent questions, analyze, and conclude. And that is basically what we do. In Jeremiah, the Lord searched the heart and test the mind. In Thessalonians, prove all things and hold fast that which is true. And you can only prove when you test. that particular item. So research is not a concept that started now. The Bible research is there, which means it started before the Bible. Let us proceed. In the Quran, research is there. Read in the name of thy Lord and cherisher, who created man out of mere cloth and congealed blood. Proclaim thy Lord is most beautiful. Those who taught the use of the pen. And in the second one, he talks about knowledge. Allah is well acquainted and all ye do. So we are seeing that knowledge or search for knowledge is entrenched from the religious perspective, both Christian and Muslim. So now we are coming to the non-religious perspective, which is the academic perspective, because where did the genesis of research start from? So research is a process where we discover new knowledge, find answers to a question, among others. But it denotes the activity that we are looking into one aspect over and over again, maybe from different angles. We are looking for information. Why is this glass half full? Can it be half empty? And if it is half empty, did it crack? Did somebody take a water? What is it? So you're trying to analyze it from all angles. And the basic epitome of research is the creation of new knowledge. Research, you use what is there to create something new. I hope I'm being heard. Eh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody was saying they have issues with volume. So we are looking at research as a way of creating new knowledge or using the existing knowledge in a new and creative way. Many of us look at traditional knowledge. For example, we are looking at gender inequality. Why is there gender inequality? Because women were supposed to work in the farms. Fine. But then why is there no food? Why is there no food security? So you're looking at that knowledge from a different perspective. There are no farms anymore. Okay, so what happened? So those are the issues you want. And you're actually looking at synthesizing and analyzing the previous research so that at the end of the day, you are able to come up with the new and creative outcomes. And that is why whenever we do research, we have literature review because we are looking at what is past, what has been done, and how do we relate it to what is current. So that is what research is. So how do we start our research? Number one, we need to understand that research is a process. It is not something that you wake up today and within 4 days you're done. No. It is a process of several activities. You conceptualize, you think, you analyze, you read, you reread again. And somebody who has done proper research will tell you that for you to get 2 paragraphs of a thesis, you have read 20 or 15 journals. Because you are trying to filter what is it that is relevant. Research is an analysis of events, data, literature, and all related activities. If you're going to do experimental research, you will look at these events or observation. You will look at these events. You will measure. What is, when we talk of an earthquake with the Richter scale, we measure that event. How did it happen? What was the cause? Where did it start? How did it move? Where is it heading to? That is all analysis of events and all those activities. What is the impact? Human life. Do we evacuate? If not, are they safe? All those things are coming in by analyzing all the events, the data, the literature, and the related activities. Research is a continuous process. It starts at one end You start at the planning stage where you're thinking, you're planning, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm thinking. You try to sift through a lot of information. How do I come up with the topic? Where do I start from? How I've gotten this information. So you're looking at this process, and it is ever evolving, because once you finish this one, you move on to the next one, and you're always thinking about something. For those of you who are doing PhD, if somebody gave you back your master's thesis, you will really improve on it, because there's a lot you have learned in the process. And some of you are actually doing your PhD thesis by upgrading your master's thesis into something different. So it is also ever evolving. So it keeps on changing. The concept is the same, but the information will keep on changing depending on what is relevant, what you like, what are the new trends, among others. And finally, research is fun. If you want to learn and if you're ready to read, research is fun, because at the end of the day, you learn so much about different activities. You think and you're like, wow, this is what is happening in Cambodia. I didn't know that. Can I replicate it here? But if you have this notion, research is hard, research is taxing, research is everything, then it will no longer be fun about it. And for those of you who are in the workplace or are going to use research in the workplace, which is almost every day, you want to find out what is the market prices and how you do it. That is research. You want to find out how many girls are pregnant in school. That is research. Then you cannot run away from research, whether academic or field research. So, in our topic, when we're coming up with a topic, our topic tells us what is the research about, where is the research, who are we researching on, and how. It looks at 3 wives and 1 husband, not 5 wives and 1 husband. 3 wives and 1 husband. So the question I will ask members, and I will maybe put it open. How do you get your topics? Hello?
From the literature.
Yes, we can get them. Yes.
We
You
get
can
our
get them from what?
from further
From
readings
literature.
of literature. Sometimes from conferences, and sometimes from supervisors.
Sometimes from life experience.
So when you start thinking about your research, when you start thinking about your research, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? You have been told now we have finished coursework, we need to do a concept. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think the first thing that should come to the person's mind is the design of the study.
For example, excuse me, for example, if there is maybe if you are interested in a certain field and there are things that you'd want to find out more, you'd now start thinking of how to fill the gap that you have been feeling that there is that is there that has not been filled. Yani how to solve the problem that you think is in within the field that you are interested in.
Okay. Okay, Aurelia, let's go to the next page.
Okay, what comes in my mind once I thought of doing research? Is it what investing my time in? Is it what's okay to look at? Is it actually a problem to solve?
Okay. All of you are right in different ways.
Hello, ma.
Yes.
I think the first thing, what I think is, the first thing should be interest. If you are interested in that topic or in the research you want to add knowledge to, it will also, that will help you to look at the topic and then add whatever you want to add. Then get your topic, another topic from there. One can get topic like that. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
I do understand.
Yes, that a topic has been treated and you seem to be interested. Then from there, you look at it and then look at whatever is the gap, whatever is not added and you want to add, like adding to the knowledge. And then from there, you can even pick several topics from that same topic.
Okay.
Start seeing from there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So,
yes, ma'am.
The first thing we need to do in research is not to think about a topic. That is the biggest mistake that most students make. Rule number 1, never start with a topic. Start with a problem. Start with a problem. But we can get all this from past literature. If you look at areas of further research in the journal papers, in the thesis, you will see you've been told you can do this research, this area was not covered, this area was not covered, so you pick on those areas. Your own personal experience. You have gone to a place and you found something that made you want to die or something like that, and you do, that problem is what you want to solve. It may become a new area of interest. You remember when COVID came, it became the new area of interest. Right now, we are looking at robotics and artificial intelligence as a new area. We can also be challenging a theory or existing knowledge. You're looking at the theoretical, somebody was asking about theoretical framework. Those theories are there to be challenged. But this one, we will not talk about theoretical framework. I think that will be done in a different session. And then in your area of discipline, you cannot be doing gender studies and then you do a research in water, unless you're linking water with gender and saying that the lack of accessibility of water affects women performance or male performance as they spend their time looking for water or something like that. But you cannot look at quality of water in gender studies, unless you want to say the quality of water is affecting reproduction or in women or in men, and you want to find out that particular area. So you need to look at your discipline. What is your discipline? Because then that is the area you want to focus on. If you are in management sciences, you cannot go and do a research in medical unless it is management of a medical facility. Then now you apply that management knowledge in that particular angle. So you need to look at that area. Duration. Academic research is limited in terms of time. You cannot do a longitudinal study in academic research. You can't say we are testing drugs, because drugs will take you almost 5-6 years, 5-10 years. You do not have 5-10 years for that in academic. So you need to look at the timelines. You need to know that this is what is here. But if you are doing research on drugs that is not academic and you want to document, or vaccines, then duration becomes important because they have to follow those guidelines that have been set. And then fund availability. You may have money, so you can do research in whichever area, or you're not limited. But you can also be limited with money, therefore you cannot do. And remember, money is a limited resource. There's nobody who has unlimited money. So they will have to do that the funding that you have, if you're self-funding or if you're being funded, it will direct which area you want to do. If you're getting funding from a certain institution, they will always tell you pick it in the area we have an interest. But if it's your own funding, you will be looking it in that particular area. And then just your own desire for in-depth knowledge will also help you create problems and know what area to focus on. As I said before, and I reiterate, do not first start with a topic. Start with the problem that is there. Because from the problem, we can create a topic. But we cannot create a problem from a topic. Are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Okay. Aurelia, give us the next one. Which is there? That is what I stand for. You can get a topic from a problem, and in fact, you can get several topics from a problem. But a problem from a topic, let us say, women empowerment. There are few women in the public service in parliament in comparison with men. Is that a problem?
In your moose.
Please come again, ma. Please.
There are few women in parliament. Remember, our constitution talks of 30% gender rule. So we have, do the women we have in parliament constitute 30%?
Hey, that's me. How you doing?
Sir Chris.
My brother.
I don't think they are up to 30%, ma'am. I don't think so. And that could
Is that a problem?
That could be a problem. Yes, it could be a problem because the women will not have enough people to defend them or to fight for them.
Now,
So
if
it
you
could
look
be a
at the
problem.
census, okay. If you look at the census of 2019, women constituted 51% of the voters, while men constituted 49%. So who voted these men into power?
Yes, most time women and the children.
So did these women know that these men will be representing them or not?
They know.
And what makes the women select the men instead of women? Aurelia, this is your area.
It may be due to ignorance.
So is our problem ignorance or is it representation?
The problem is ignorance, not representation.
Aurelia says she will research on it because she thinks we have opened a Pandora's box. But that is how you can think outside the box to come up with topics and make them. Men have more resources. So a woman is easily swayed by virtue of resources. Okay. But you can now see how we can create topics from problems or from discussions that are there. But if I just came there and I just said women representation without looking at it in depth and seeing which angle I can pick it from, then we will not be able to pick it from that angle. So in my opinion, we need to check how we are going to handle our problems, because that will affect how we do our topic. And it has to be something that piques you, that makes you want to really excites you. It excites you and makes you want, that is what I want to do, because then that makes it more interesting. Okay, let's move to the next one. So what are the wordings of a research topic? A research topic should be between 14 to 20. 20 is too wordy. So we usually like to go on the minimum side. That should be your word limit. A research topic should be appropriate. It should describe your variables. They should be very clear. What is your independent variable? What is your dependent variable? If I read your research, I should know what it is about, what the relationship is about, the scope of that particular research, just from the topic. It should be simple. If you use big words here in Kenya, we call it European English, then it loses its meaning, because you get lost in the process. So you try to make it as simple, as short, as straightforward as possible. But it should be able to cover what you want to say. It should be able to show you the different relationships that are there. Okay? What are the characteristics of a good research topic? It must be researchable. And when it is researchable, it means data can be collected and it can be replicated in another area. And maybe the results will be different if the demographic is different. But if the demographic is the same, then the results should almost be the same. So that is why we are talking about researchable. It should have 2 or more interacting variables. We've talked about the independent variable and the dependent variable. And this is summarized as a y is equals a function of x. Y is the dependent, x is the independent. But then sometimes we also have other variables that are there, which are called other moderating, mediating, or intervening variables. And that also affects the equation that you will have. Most of the humanities do not go the equation way, but in anyone who has done proper research, whether it is humanities or the sciences, they will just tell you automatically y, which is the dependent, is affected by x, which is the independent. And that is why it is put in form of a formula. So for those ones who are going to use theoretical framework, you will not meet this mathematical equation. But for those who are going to use conceptual framework, you will use mathematical equation, but not always. Most of the people who are using that are the STEM people: mathematics, engineering, science, technology, and business. Very few people in education will also use it, but the others in the other social sciences will not use the equation angle. A research topic should be in your area of interest. It should be able to add knowledge, and it should entice me to want to read your research. Make me feel like, okay, so what is this about? Let me open it, let me read it. Because if it is not there, then it doesn't make sense. All right? So, an example of somebody who is doing a research right now, or rather trying to fumble about. Who can tell us what some of their topics can be? And you should remember the 3 wives and the 1 husband.
Gender studies and adaptation strategy.
Pardon?
Adaptation strategy and to climate change, gender studies. Different adaptation strategies used by men and women in agricultural production.
Okay, so which is your independent variable? Which is your dependent variable? What is your scope?
Okay. Adaptation strategies are what is influencing agricultural production level is being affected by the different adaptation strategies taken up by men and women. So adaptation strategy are the independent variables influencing their level of agricultural production.
So if I get you right, I've just typed something on the wall. That is what you were talking about, adaptation strategies on climate change in agricultural sector.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adaptation strategies that are being used by men and women is what affects their level of production. So I'm trying to say that the different adaptation strategies used by men and women to avert climate change affects their level of productivity, which is why.
Okay, I'm just changing that a bit. Climate change adaptation strategies affect agricultural level of productivities. That is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, but it has to be adapted either by men or women.
Okay. So you need to focus either on a certain scope. So let me maybe just change it a little bit or pick your mind.
Okay.
Agricultural. Could we change it? Climate change adaptation on agriculture, or on small scale holder agriculture in Kano State or Kano Suburban, something like that. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, something like that, as in having location and a location on it, on the topic.
Yes. So as you can see, climate change adaptation in agricultural production of cocoa farmers in Kano State.
It's okay that way.
Are you seeing how it is changing and coming out?
Yes, I can see that.
You can see the changes. We have picked a small scope, which is just pure cocoa farmers, isn't it?
Yes.
A geographical location, which is Kano State. Okay, so the where has been done. The who are cocoa farmers. The what is climate change adaptation. Okay, we are looking at agriculture. So you can still refine this further depending on the literature that is there. But that basically just tells you that what you may think is there. Now, there's somebody who has put here role of voting patterns on achievement of 2/3 rule in parliament. Abdul Kadir, this is interesting from the discussion we had. But why should the role of voting patterns be there? We could look at women voters and achievement of we could look at women voting patterns and achievement of 2/3 gender rule. That way, we can pick even a sample like Nairobi, which is cosmopolitan, and find out why is it that Nairobi is doing this. So the role of voting patterns would not be there, but would look at women as our scope, Nairobi as our scope, and why that voting pattern is not achieving our 2/3 gender role. When we come to this, yes.
Teacher factor. Teacher factor influencing implementation of digital literacy in an inclusive public primary school.
Is teacher a factor?
Teacher factors.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Is teacher a factor?
Yes.
What are if teacher is a factor that is affecting, it basically means that teacher is an X, an independent variable. So if teacher is an independent variable, then how do you break it down into objectives? So upfront, I have a problem with that teacher factor. You could just say factors and remove the word teacher. Then teacher becomes one of your objectives.
Okay. Now suppose from what I've looked at, I thought teacher could be a factor because in the current situation, the digital literacy is almost being almost everybody's getting acquainted with the issue of digital literacy. But you find that if the teacher may not be willing to implement it fully to a child, then the child may not get the correct concept. If the teacher
Which I totally agree with you, but is not the only factor affecting digital literacy. There is also lack of equipment. There is also lack of other resources.
Okay.
So that is why I'm saying in your objectives, you could have teacher as objective 1 and tell us that these teachers do not even know what a computer is from your findings. Your objective 2, resources. If the teacher does not know, definitely Hannah, Cindy, and such like things. But by just picking teacher factor, then after you only have one question: is teacher the only factor that affects digital literacy? So I can see a number of topics here. Innovative strategic management practices and its effect on secondary school students' outcome. I would ask you, what is innovative strategic management practices? That is the first question I would ask you. And will this strategic management affect academic performance of students? So those are the questions I would be asking you. So as much as we want to have very interesting topics, the question that comes to, how are you going to create your objectives from those particular topics? I've come to predictors of poor neurodevelopment outcomes among under 5 children in Nairobi informal settlements. Yes, this can work because you're looking at what affects neurodevelopment outcomes. So what is the predictor? Are you looking for a specific thing that if this can be put, that if we see this, we know there's a neurodevelopment issue? And you've picked a slum area, informal settlements. So that topic, with a little bit of changes in terms of what these predictors are, can make a good topic. Effects of vitamin A deficiency in pregnant women and their birth outcomes in rural Kenya. So what is the effect of vitamin A deficiency, first of all? If I have what causes vitamin A deficiency? So I would avoid vitamin A deficiency alone and pick vitamin deficiency or something, because when I pick vitamin A, what questions am I asking there? Unless it's a journal paper which only has one question. Remember, an academic paper has at least 3 to 5 objectives. So if you only have one particular that you can pick from there, then what is that? Or if you're going to pick, are there more effects of vitamin A deficiency, or is just one effect? And then what does birth outcome? Does it mean they have stillbirths? Does it mean they have preemies? Does it mean that their children are malnourished? Those are the issues that you need to look at when you're to think about or thrash before you finalize and concretize these particular topics. So the topics really here are from the ones that you can see, you as you discuss more, you will change a lot of things, but you need some proper input into how to frame it in such a way that it captures that. Let's go to the next slide. Yes.
I was just thinking that for the topics that I see, and I see your concern of what then will be under the objective. So is it that like the teacher factor, because it seems she wants to look at only what are the teacher issues around the use of AI. So is it to unpack that concept better? Is it that she needs to, because I feel still she can look at the teacher related issues, but then she needs to have, if it's the independent variable, she needs to have what will she measure under teachers factors? Is that what you're saying? So that in your objective, you have something that you actually measure in relation to teachers factor. But from a title perspective, I think
from a title perspective, it limits her to one objective, which is teacher.
Now,
But
may I
from
explain a bit?
a whole, if she removed the word teacher and put factors, then she will have teacher as one of the objectives among many others that are there that are affecting digital literacy. Because digital literacy is not just teacher alone. But then, are there other factors other than them not wanting to teach? It can be accessibility to resources. How many schools are there that have access to digital factors, to digital?
Excuse me, madam. Do you know
Yes.
the reason as to why I picked that? Remember, in Kenya, there was a policy that digital literacy was to be implemented. Then they supplied these gadgets to the schools, which are believed to still be there in the schools. And to date, when you go and check even with the learners whom the digital literacy gadgets were given to, there is something wanting, that they are not up to date. We don't know why they are not having the skills. Yet the gadgets were provided, the teachers were trained, the teachers actually were given, a fertile ground to work on using the digital literacy gadgets which were given. So that's why I was asking, could it be that the teacher is a factor because the resources are there, they were trained? What is what now?
And that is why I'm saying, beyond the teachers alone, there are other factors that we need to look at beyond. And that is why I'm saying teachers is okay. Because if you're just asking teachers alone, you will have only one research question.
Okay.
Only one research question. So we want you to have more than one research question so that you look, even if it is teachers, they were trained. What kind of tooling were they given? Was it the correct tool that they need retooling? Is it that these things that were brought were not of standard and they no longer work?
Could it be the attitude?
Could it be the attitude? Could it be that there is no power?
Which was installed?
I know of schools that don't have power. Internet.
So
I know so many schools that don't have internet. So there are so many questions. That is what I'm saying. Don't limit yourself to teachers. Why don't you spread your net wider? So that you can have
removing the speck from my
a
eye.
few
Thank
issues.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I've gotten you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Aurelia, let's go to the next one. So sample topics A comparative analysis of health status of children born in hospitals and at home in Madare slums. So we could look at it maybe ages 0. We want to look at those children who are just born. What is the health status? Are they okay or do they have issues? We are comparing. So we are doing two different studies. Okay. Effect of taxation on standard of living. Among boda boda operators of Kisumu town, we have a scope, boda boda operators, Kisumu town. We want to look, is taxation affecting them, especially the prices of fuel, among others. So you can look at that taxation and break it down. A value-added tax, fuel tax, etc., and see that. The moderating effect of government policy on CBC retooling among JSS English teachers in Nandi sub-county. So what is the government policy saying on CBC retooling among English teachers of JSS? We are looking, are you seeing how these topics are coming in differently? So here in number 3, we have another variable called a moderating effect, which is the government policies. We are having CBC retooling. This is retraining, among others, okay? And another topic is staff motivation and productivity in county government of Mombasa. We want to look if staff are motivated, does productivity improve or does it not improve? So the topics will vary depending on what we have as our variables and what we want to understand. Okay. Next. So as I said earlier on, we can only do a topic when we know a problem. So our problems can come from seminar reports, from literature review, from textbooks, journals, internet, dissertation, suggestions for further research, replication of studies, existing theories, personal experience. Like you've talked about teachers and JSS, that is a research problem, and digitalization, that's a problem. Question is, how now do we package it in such a way that it gives us a proper researchable topic and objectives that we want to do? So understanding that particular concept, being an open mind, reading more, poking holes, changing this and this would all make it workable. So we need to get that problem from the way it is. And you've told us it was your personal experience. You saw that digital equipment was given. Students do not have those digital skills. What is the problem? That already is a problem. So now we can unpack it further. And next. Next topic. Yeah. So a sample problem statement. This is fiction. Now, I want you to pick exactly what I'm trying to say. This is fiction, okay? Most children in the rural areas are raised by second generational parents, making them not able to access basic necessities like clean water and enough food. That is a very strong statement. If I'm making such a statement, where did I get it? I need to quote it. So you do what? You cite. A study done in Colombia on performance of children who have access to basic nutrition stated that 8 or 5 of these students performed well in 80% was supposed to be 80% in comparison with those who did not access good nutrition, and their performance stood at 30%. So it means nutrition has an effect on performance. Another study done in South Africa by Fozia stated that children living in slums had a higher chance at 60% of missing school due to malnutrition, while those ones who, in comparison with those ones who are living in the suburbs, which means that they can access food and don't have malnutrition. This causes a decline in economic status because when they miss school, they're not able to get jobs, among others, and it affects a lot of things and affects the nation at large. In Kenya, the rate of malnutrition, according to UN, stands at 40%. In line with this, we want to find out the effect of malnutrition on student performance of girls in Kwale County junior secondary schools. You can see I have figures, I have citations, there are facts that are there. Are we together? the problem statement needs to come out very strongly as to what is the real issue. And to make sure that you get your problem well, you need to have what we call a problem tree. It helps guide how you will come up with this particular content. Let's go to the next slide and let's just see a sample problem tree. Now you can see, if I am to pick the issue of teacher education, instead of lack of sufficient clean water, I will say lack of digital skills. So what are the causes of lack of digital skills? I will put there teacher attitude. I will put there lack of resources. I will put there something like that. What is the effect of lack of digital skill? Low literacy levels. So you can see that this would help you know what your objectives are and how you can capture that particular cause and effect and help you develop your concept very well. Because once you know that, then the rest becomes very easy. This cause and effect will work for both academic and also for field research for those ones who are doing consultancy work. It helps you pick it up well. Let's go to the next slide. Next, let's. I think we have discussed a little bit about this. So let us go to variables. What are the variables? We also call them objectives, okay? And from that problem tree, you've seen we have two. And that was where I was saying, unpack that teacher somewhere deeper so that you have several, what your problem is. That will be able to give you the different variables. So these variables, once you know what is there, when you talk of vitamin A deficiency, poor health, vitamin A deficiency, what are the causes of vitamin A deficiency? Lack of, I'm sorry, I'm not a medical person, but I could say lack of eating vegetables, lack of eating fruits, and all the others, among lack of sunlight. So those are what you put there. So the first thing that we did when we were talking about y is equals a function of x, this x, which is the independent variable, we break it into 3, 4, 5 subvariables, and all this should be part and parcel of the topic. You cannot say I'm looking at digital literacy in secondary schools and then we go and pick, we want to find out about adults in TVET. It will not work. So you have to make sure that you look at just digital literacy. You cannot bring in literacy on the other side because we were not looking at literacy, we were looking at digital literacy because the two are completely different. And by virtue of that, you need to do what we call operational definition of your terms. What are the terms that you're going to use? Remember, we have the definition, which is the nominal definition, and then we have the operational definition. For example, performance. Performance is just doing good. But then performance in terms of digital literacy is very different. Performance in terms of vitamin A deficiency or efficiency is something very different. So you need to do that operational definition of term, because a performance in a health context is very different from a performance in a management context, which is very different from a performance in a school context. Are we together? Hello?
Yes, yes, we are.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, we are here.
Okay, so we need to make sure that we define our operational definition of terms. So that was why I asked the first question that was there earlier on. When you're talking of teacher factor, what is teacher factor? But when we talk of factors, we are able to pick up an array of things. When we talk of digital literacy, we are able to define digital literacy, which is very different from literacy. So we pick that up. It's very important for us to know that operational definition of terms, because it puts the researcher in a particular angle, and nobody can misinterpret their research. Let's go to the next one, the next slide. So the process of specifying what we mean, we are able to produce good research and describe the different indicators that we use in our research. When you operationalize your research, then you understand what you want to do, and it gives you a very nice skeleton. Let's go to the next one. So types of variables, I will not go into detail there. We have the independent variable. This one is what manipulates the dependent variable, and this is where we get our objectives, and that is what we study. A change in this variable, how does it affect the other variable? A change in vitamin A deficiency, a change if we give them vitamin A, how will it affect the health status, etc. So that is what we call the X. The next variable, this is the dependent variable. It stays constant. Okay? It is affected by the independent variable, and it was also called the Y factor. Let's go to the next slide, looking at our time. Then we have the extraneous variable, the intervening variable. They can be studied independently or as a relationship between the dependent and the independent variable. So you can have, you look at the independent variable, its relationship directly to the dependent, and then the independent variable through this particular variable to the, so it somehow manipulates. You remember the one I was talking about, the policies. So that becomes that particular variable. It affects. Without, if these policies were not there, you could go directly and do retooling. But because the policies are there, you can't just do retooling. You have to follow a certain path. Next slide. So I think I've discussed about those concepts, the operational definition of terms. They help us know what we are. So we can move on that particular slide again. And yes. So why do we develop research objectives? We want to focus on our study. We want to collect data in a certain specific areas. We just don't want to go haphazard. We want to have a structure in a particular area. Then also somebody else can look at another area. We organize that in specific parts. If we are looking at factors affecting digital literacy, what are these factors? We can only pick 3 or 4. We can look at resources. We can look at technical expertise. We can look at capacity to maybe infrastructure. But then somebody else would look at different angles. They would look at technology transfer, among other things. So you want to look at that. Then it also helps you expand your variable and formulate your hypothesis. Remember that we will ask research questions, we will ask hypotheses, and this will only come from our objectives. Our hypotheses are our objectives turned into hypotheses. Our research questions are our objectives turned into questions. We only change that. Okay? Next. Research questions. Once the objective has been formulated, they are turned into questions or hypotheses. If I take the issue of climate change, I can, if I'm just using it as one objective, I can say as a hypothesis, climate change has no significant effect on, that's a null hypothesis, on agricultural production. So we test to see if it is going to be okay or not okay. In the same context, I can say, what is the effect of climate change adaptation on agricultural production? I have turned the same objective into a question. You cannot ask a different question from what you've set in your objectives or a different hypothesis. It is the same thing turned into a hypothesis, whether it is null or alternate, or into a question. So because I am rushing a little bit because I know we're almost getting time out and I want to finish in the next 5 minutes so that we are able to have just about 5 or so minutes for questions. So we do a conceptual framework. A conceptual framework is a summary of all the above. It looks at your topic, your objectives, and your dependent variable, and the relationship between those ones in a pictorial format. We cannot use a conceptual framework without a theoretical framework, but there are those ones who use a theoretical framework without a conceptual framework. And for those ones who use theoretical framework, they usually, conceptual framework, most of the time, they will be testing hypotheses among others because they're looking at the relationship. I know for those ones who are doing PhD, you have to test the hypothesis most of the time. But for master, sometimes you can get away without testing the hypothesis and just answering the questions. But at the end of the day, even if you answer the questions, you'll still be using statistical techniques to answer those questions or to analyze the data. So this gives you that pictorial analysis and shows you that kind of relationship. And this conceptual framework is a spine, a skeleton of your research. Once you have it and you have it correctly, you are as good as 50% done of your research. The rest is filling up the gaps. But if you don't get your conceptual framework right, then you don't have anything. And it is your own, it is nobody's. Concept. I am putting my own concept in that angle. It measures those variables. Your questionnaire will come from that conceptual framework. Your literature review will come from the conceptual framework. Your theories will be supporting that framework. Everything will be based on that particular framework. So it is actually that particular angle. Let's go to the next one. So this is a sample of a very simple conceptual framework, which just shows a relationship. If you can see towards y, there's an arrow. Are you seeing that arrow?
Yes.
It shows
Yes,
that
you can see it.
x1, we have x1, x2, x3. Those are the variables, and they all are showing the relationship to y. It is the simplest form of conceptual framework, and most of the master students will be using that particular framework. Let's go to the next one. This is another one. It is also a simple framework. I want to see you that there are two arrows heading to y. There's one arrow like the previous one, but there's another one that is coming to the other variable and going to y, saying that we can measure the relationship independent and then through this variable and see the difference. And that difference is what will be maybe the knowledge addition. Okay? So those are some of the conceptual frameworks showing the relationship, and those arrows are what shows the relationship. If you are not having those arrows or you don't draw this relationship well, then you lose your conceptual framework. So let us go to the next one. You can find that we are having a conceptual framework where we have x1, x2, and we also have two dependent variables, because you have not drawn it well to show the relationship. You have not conceptualized your idea in the topic. So this basically tells us that we have digital learning literacy and also English literacy, which are two different things that we will measure there. And that becomes very difficult for you to analyze, measure and analyze, and then your research will be lost and spoiled. Let's go to another conceptual framework there. You are drawing a conceptual framework that is circular or is not there. They are very easy to draw. The basic line is just to show you what is the relationship. If you look here, what is the relationship? The relationship, you cannot measure it very well. So it is important that you understand how to really put it in that pictorial perspective. Next slide. So a research process, you have your research problem. It gives you your topic and objectives. You plan and design your research. You generate the results, interpret and draw conclusions, and then you progress again. It is a cycle, and that is basically what happens there. Next one. So these ones, I think all of us, it is that particular area. So as we summarize, we will say, this is standard. I think let's just summarize. Research topic and objectives are what our research is all about. And they're depicted through a conceptual framework showing the relationship. So there's always room for improvement in your research. You only need to share, to ask, to read, to reread, to reanalyze. And at the end of the day, you'll have fun learning some more things. Finally, enjoy your research process. I was really trying to time so that we can have some few minutes for question and answers before we end. Thank you very much, and honored to have been part of this presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, Mom.
I think we have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes. We can ask a question, 2 or 3 people. The people who are asking about conceptual frameworks, are you okay now? Have you seen the 2 types of designs that you can use to show your relationship? So anyone with a question now, please feel free to ask as I put on the link to join the journal club so that you can get the recording and everything. If you're not in the journal club, in the Africana journal club. So your questions are welcome. Any question? Yes, Charity.
Yes, thank you so much for the good presentation. My question is about the best way to go around getting literature that will help one operationalize those key variables that are sitting on the independent variable, the key aspects of it. I know I can't just wake up and say, I think I'll put this. How would be your tips on how to get literature to help us get those sub-variables?
Among the first slides I said was know your dependent and independent variable. Now, in your independent variable, the way we were talking about factors. Factors will give us a lot of things, and we can pick a few from there. Now, let us pick something else. Health or vitamin A deficiency. You will know the areas that are coming in from vitamin A deficiency or from strategic matters. And in those strategic factors, because you have done the theoretical aspect in terms of classwork, that should be able to help you focus on what you want to pick in that particular area. Once you pick that, when you go to the literature review or to search for literature, you'll be searching literature. For example, if you're looking at strategic planning or strategic resource mobilization in strategic management, then you're going to look at strategic resources as a component on its own. So you need first to identify what from your key topic, what do you think you want to study? Because you will get 10, 15 different areas. And this can only be done by looking at the different researchers, what they have done, and what they have done, and what they have in terms of areas for further research. And by picking and manipulating those factors, you should be able to come up with a good set of objectives.
Okay.
Charity, have I responded to you?
Yes,
Patrick,
you have. Thank you.
Yes.
I think that there's no way out in terms of just going to read more literature around those variables so that I can get how to flesh them out.
Yes.
Absolutely, because you have to reference also. You have to show a reference. So Patrick,
Thank you for the very good presentation. So my question revolves around the objective, the hypothesis, and the research questions, where you have clearly stated that maybe if you have like 3 objectives, they should translate to 3 hypotheses and maybe 3 research questions. So my question is, maybe if I'm doing a research and I have an objective that looks at prevalence, so I'm wondering how will that objective on prevalence direct into, maybe translate into a hypothesis? Because for me, it has been quite easy maybe to do a hypothesis for the objective that maybe was looking at the association, comparing the 2 things. But now I had a challenge translating a research question or an objective that was looking specifically on prevalence.
Prevalence of HIV has no effect on productivity in an organization. You need to understand first the hypothesis, both the null and the alternate.
Yeah.
Yes. So like now I've just said, HIV prevalence has no significant effect on employee performance.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. But now, like the research I'm doing, like that is another objective on its own. Like my first objective is just doing a study on the prevalence of poor neurodevelopmental outcomes. So like my first objective is just to look at the prevalence. Then my second objective now looks at now the association between malnutrition and now the malnutrition and poor neurodevelopmental outcome.
Is it a baseline? Because if you're looking at prevalence, then you're looking at a baseline.
Yeah, it's a baseline because it's still in that, in my study, it's a baseline.
In your study, is a baseline. There's no other study that has been done on prevalence of malnutrition.
No, I didn't find any study. That's why I was advised to do the prevalence first, because I didn't find any data that specifically looked at the prevalence in that area, in my study area, Nairobi informal settlement, the prevalence of my outcome variable. So I was advised to, first objective, to document
so your
the
objective
prevalence.
1 and your topic are the same?
No, they're not the same. So my topic is actually looking at the association between malnutrition and poor neurodevelopmental outcome. But out of this, I was advised.
Prevalence of malnutrition?
Of poor neurodevelopmental outcome, not malnutrition.
Of prevalence of poor, okay. I think I saw something somewhere on the questions regarding that. Where did I see that? Climate change. I saw something there. But anyway, it is very predictors of poor neurodevelopment outcomes. So you are looking at prevalence of poor. So prevalence of poor neurodevelopment outcomes, that is a bit difficult to find out if it's a baseline, because there's no effect there. And the hypothesis has to have an effect, an effect variable for it to be tested.
Yes.
So chances of you testing the first hypothesis will be very difficult.
Yeah.
You might answer a question, but you might not test the hypothesis.
Yes.
That is the challenge you're having.
Yeah, that's the challenge, because I was, as you explained, I was like, if I have 3 objectives, then someone is expecting my hypothesis to be also 3.
Yes, they do expect that. But then we have the extremes of new areas and also other areas where some may not work because of the prevalence. We do not know if there's that significant effect. Unless you add another statement there, prevalence of neurodevelopment outcomes among under 5-year children and mortality rate or something like that. Then you can measure that performance.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Aurelia.
Yes, I think we're going to finish here. Just to say thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I have put the link for the feedback. Please give a feedback about the session today and the other form to join Africana Journal Club, where we will share. We are now doing a round of webinars on different research topics. So please watch out for that. And just to say thank you very much, Dr. Fozia, for really unpacking a topic that many people find very difficult and really helping us understand. So I just urge you to keep reading, keep refining those. So as you can see, once you've been able to refine your variables, then to come up with the conceptual framework, the pictorial representation, as we have been told, it becomes easier. So I just want to wish you all the best. I'll hang out for 2 minutes so that you can click on the different links, the feedback and the journal club, and just say thank you very much for coming. We usually put the recording on YouTube so that it's easier to follow on our Ada Africa YouTube page, because it's easier for Zoom recording. So yeah, that will be there for you. And Dr. will you share your slides?
Yes, you can share my slides to whoever is interested to have them. And if there are any other questions that would come to your inbox, you can always forward them for clarification or confirmation on the same. And I wish everybody a lovely evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Let me leave my WhatsApp number. I'm more active on WhatsApp. But if you have a question, you can, that you want me to ask on your behalf, you can always reach out 3571 Aurelia. So that's my WhatsApp number in case you have any questions about today's presentation. So let me hang up, let me hang around for 2 minutes, then, but you are free to leave at your own pleasure. Thank you for coming. Country code, yes. Oh my goodness, 54. I forgot that we are international here. 708. Thank you. There you go. Yes, Mercy, you will get the slides. So my name is Aurelia, just for you to see the number. Munene, sorry. Okay. So please fill in the feedback and you can join the Africana Journal Club if you haven't. Let me just share the links there.
Thank you, Madam Aurelia, for the good work and keeping the fire of Ada burning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That is so kind. Thank you so much. Okay, good people. Let me now leave. Enjoy your weekend and see
Please,
you.
we need you to share the audio for us, please.
Yes, yes, we will share. That's why I'm saying join the club so that I can share there. The links are there. If not, I think most of you either saw the the invitation from other 8 Social Science Club or Africana Journal Club. We will share the recording on those 2 places, or TCC Africa. Maybe most of you come from those 3 places. We will share the recording.
I didn't get what she said.
I'm saying many of you maybe got the invitation either from TCC Africa or from other 8 Social Science Journal Club or from Africana Journal Club. We will share all the recording on those 3 WhatsApp pages.
Africana. Okay. I pray I'll get it.
Just copy my number, Christiana, so that you can
I've
contact.
I copied the one you sent.
Yes. So just reach out to me in case you don't get the recording in those places. Just
okay, ma'am.
give me my number. We will share the recording probably end of tomorrow or by Monday.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then bye-bye and have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.